Do we have our tea, Joe? Do you have your English tea?
I've got it. 2 lumps of sugar, Morg. Some crumpets or scones or whatever they're called.
Oh my gosh, a perfect setup for today's episode because we are 2 beasts from Lil D, and we both, Morg and Joe, just watched Meghan Markle and Harry, whatever his last name is, in their interview with
Windsor.
Oprah. Harry Windsor. Wow. Had no idea, even up until this moment.
Why do I know this? I think it was almost like the royals didn't have a last name, but then they gave them the last name Windsor.
They're just like us.
They're just like us. They're regular people, Morg. Morg, one, I would just like to give an air high five to you because we both watched this and we watched it when it came out. I'm proud of us. That is
We're
not
on
like
time.
us.
This is
And
not
we took
like
notes.
us.
We took notes.
And
Who are we?
we took notes. Like, what? This might be our most researched episode ever.
100% it is.
Well, I'm proud of us. And of course, if you're new to joining us, welcome. But we start every episode with some bee baggage, just a little baggage to talk through, either submitted from our listeners or something we found that just has to be discussed. So this week, Joe has found something that goes perfectly with our episode. Bethenny Frankel of the Housewives of New York. She posted right before the interview, kind of crap talking Meghan, and now, we are wondering if she regrets what she said.
And Morg, do you have that tweet in front of you? Do you remember what she said?
Yes. So right before the interview came on today, Bethenny really wanted to jump on this bandwagon, as do we. And she said, "Cry me a river, the plight of being a game show host, fairly unknown actress, to suffering in a palace with tiaras and 7-figure weddings for 2 whole years, to being a household name with Oprah on speed dial, fetching $7 million for interviews, hundreds of millions in interview deals," wrote Frankel on today, March 8th, while we're recording this.
It's very cold-hearted.
I guess, to the question of, do we think she regrets this? No, because Bethenny is cold-hearted. She is a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, I could totally hear her being like, "Oh, cry me a river."
Even though some of I feel like parts of the interview did come out and soften anyone who maybe had questions about Meghan, because she was going through some especially dark moments mentally and really weird moments with the royal family about her baby's race. I just feel like Bethenny is unapologetically always. So I don't think she's going to apologize about this tweet at all.
She's somewhere just rolling her eyes like, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah, get over it.
Ouch.
I had no idea Meghan was a game show host, though,
but game show host isn't exactly what I would have called her. So, Morg, do you remember that TV show with, and I forget what it's called, but I know once I describe it to you, it's going to have the most basic title in the world, where you open the suitcases filled with money and they had different amounts of money.
She wasn't the host, though. Was she the actor?
No. She was one of the suitcase girls. The briefcase.
Oh my God, Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No Deal. She was one of the Deal or No Deal girls.
Man, so Bethenny Frankel kind of gave her like an upgrade even with her slam.
Yeah, so backfired Bethenny.
Yeah, so I as far as giving an apology from Bethenny Frankel, I think Meghan can just kiss that goodbye. It's not coming. Don't wait on that call.
I mean, also, this is bad of me because, I'm a recent convert to the Housewives, but I feel like Meghan Markle probably doesn't give a crap about who Bethenny Frankel is.
Okay, that's true. But I do appreciate her skinny girl margaritas.
Oh, for sure. And as we learned tonight, Morg, Meghan Markle doesn't read any headlines, so Meghan Markle will probably never see this.
Okay, the number of times she needed to say she doesn't read headlines made me very suspicious that she does, in fact, read headlines.
And, Morg, when she described herself sitting in her house for months and months, what were you doing? Why was that not a question we asked Oprah?
I know. Oprah, I needed to give Oprah a little bit of some probing, I don't know. What am I about to say? I'm about to say that I'm going to give Oprah some technique. I am. and I regret it immediately. But I just wish Oprah had like run some of her questions by me, and I could have, like role played with her. And I'm like, what about when they just say vague answers, Oprah? What will you do then? Because they did that a lot, and we let them get away with it.
They did do it a lot, and I feel super skeptical because Oprah is their neighbor, and according to them in this interview, Oprah and Harry are working on a project together, so it does feel super suspicious that Oprah didn't dig as deep as she probably could have, but there were a few moments where I felt like she clarified, but you're right, she could have done a lot more, and for some reason, I really do want to know, what was Meghan doing in the house for 4 months when she couldn't leave? What do you think?
I don't know. What I imagine is like a cop level detective board with pictures of the royal family and her writing next to them, like who did it, about certain questions, especially some of the main ones, like who started the rumor about the Flower Girl dresses? Like, what is going on there?
Oh, so juicy, Morg.
You know what? I was like on the verge of always getting some juice, and I never did.
That's kind of true. I did kind of walk away from this feeling like I thought I was going to have this moment of like, oh,
I knew it!
And it never really came.
Yeah, like I thought I was going to be like, I knew it. I knew that was happening. Like something clarified for me. Nothing clarified. You know what got clarified, though? That there's a lot of terms for the royal family. The institution, the monarch, the firm. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, the firm. When she was saying that, I was thinking, Morg, I've never seen her show, but I know that when she was working as an actress, she was working on a show about lawyers. And I was like, oh, hang on. Meghan Markle is taking us back to her TV show. And then they kept using it. And I was like, oh, no, I'm confused. Apparently, the firm is the institution, which is the monarch, which also, hello, Morg, has an HR department. That was a huge shock to me.
Oh, mind blown. Like, can you imagine, like, being an intern in the HR department of the royal family?
No, like, what duties are you doing? Oh, I need you to go fetch
a sample of Kate's son's hair. We need to do a paternity test start. I don't know. Like, I feel like this HR department is so sketch.
And apparently Snape from Harry Potter runs it.
I need you to get this hair sample to me immediately.
Wingardium Leviosa!
Y'all, unfortunately, you're going to hear a lot of bad British accents this episode. And
good, Morgan. They're good.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about it.
Nor am I.
I'm Bethany Frankel. Get over it.
But, okay, there was also a moment in there where it felt like Oprah was doing a British accent. And I couldn't decide if it was Oprah just doing her Oprah voice.
I know exactly what moment you mean when she said daughter.
Yes, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that because she was. Okay, so it wasn't just me because I wrote that down with a question mark next to it. Like, did she really just say daughter?
I really have it right here. Oprah British accent?
That one surprised me. Like, I know that Oprah, she's a great interviewer, right? I feel like I've never seen that though. But I also was like 12 when I was watching her show. So
no, yeah, I feel like we caught Oprah in a vulnerable moment of being unsure of herself. In this, like, I don't know if I should be doing this accent moment, but it's your daughter, and it got like unsure vibes.
I hope that somehow gets, I don't think GIFed is the word, but if they could do like those things where it's like they auto-tune something and turn it into a song? Where it's like, daughter.
I mean, and I also think you're like doing it too well. Like the level of unsurety in her voice when she did it was really what threw it over the edge for me.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you picked up on that.
But okay, I have just a glaring question for you, Joe. What do we think the Queen is thinking right now? Like, is she fuming? They alluded to a lot that, Harry gets along really well with his grandmother.
Yes.
Like, do we think that's true?
Well, so this was all it was weird because what I kept coming back to, because yes, so Harry is saying all of these great, wonderful things about his grandma, and then Meghan Markle, also the story about her and the Queen sharing a blanket on a train or whatever. I was like, what is this like?
Like, that sounds like something I would say to, like, prove that I was close to someone that I am not close to.
Right?
Like, listen, we shared a blanket one time, okay? So we have a moment.
It's like, she was really cool. She reminded me of my grandma. It's like, well, that's not something me and my grandma would do, but okay. But it all felt really suspicious to me, and then it felt like, what are they not legally allowed to tell us? Like, it just felt like there's something here, Morgan. Like, I'm not buying that the Queen is just this little teeny sweet blanket sharing, I don't know, lady.
I think she got her HR muscle to give them a stern talking to before this interview. She's like, we're going to rough you up if you speak badly of Grandmama. And so I think it was like, you know, you can touch everybody else, but you can't touch the Queen.
Listen here, you shall not mention me, or you shall be smited.
Exactly. I think, you know, she doesn't do any of her dirty work, though. It's like, you know, it's that
Right.
Snape character. Listen, the Queen. The Queen has sent me with the baddest of news.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now he's Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins, the ever-changing character.
He's undercover, Joe. He's in America.
So, all right, now is
I'm going to tell you something.
we're not gonna have any of this.
We'll take you right back to the palace and give you a whipping. So don't you make us do it.
I didn't think that would there be this many accents at this moment, but I'm loving it. And yes, so I kind of feel like that too, where I feel like feeling a little duped. Like, I like how you're saying she's having other people do her dirty work.
As much as that, I thought there was some real moments that were shared, especially from Meghan. I thought, you know, the Queen was getting protected.
For sure. Like, I just cannot get past this stupid blanket story. It annoyed me so much. It felt so contrived.
They're playing a game of chess. They are protecting their queen, okay?
Yeah,
That's what's
yes.
happening here.
Wow, Morg, the analogy.
Yeah, just like Meghan's analogy to the Little Mermaid. Like, can we address?
Yes, I just had the same thought. I was like, what is this? Why do we keep, which again, like such Oprah vibes, where it was like we had these occasional cutaways to the chicken farm, the rescue chicken farm, where it was like,
That is classic Oprah vibes. You're so right.
and with all of the metaphors of the freed saved chickens, and then on top of it the Little Mermaid analogy, more, it was too much. It got a little cheesy for me, and then especially at the end with like the better than a fairy tale, and it was like, oh my gosh, like the cheesiness of these like metaphors, man.
Better than a fairy tale moment while they're both like wincing. Like, I was like, I'm not buying this for a second. They're both white knuckling it still. And I was just a little bit like, oh.
Yeah, and it definitely felt like when I was watching them hold hands, like, and once it also looked like she went to hold his hand, and he kind of, I don't think he purposely rejected her. Maybe he did. Speculation, maybe conspiracy. But then they were holding hands, and I was like, are they just like gripping those hands? Like, can they feel their fingers anymore?
I don't know, Joe. Like, yeah. I don't know. There were some weird moments after Harry joined the interview. I think they should have done the whole thing with just Meghan. Like, it got weird.
Yeah, because I thought she was like, she said what she needed to say. It was like concise, but he was like rambly, and I think,
He confused me more.
yes.
I thought like we were getting somewhere. I felt a little bit like, I'm glad she's getting to tell her side, and then he came out and was like, anyways, I think the institution and my father, and I think, and I was like, where are you going, bud? Where are we going?
Yeah, it was definitely, and this was when Oprah kind of pulled through a couple of times, when it was like she even like put her hands up like, so what is this? Like, what are you saying? And he's like, and they're all trapped, and I was trapped. And she was like, okay, I'm sorry, but like, how are you trapped if, like, you just said you didn't know you were trapped? Like, he's like, I didn't know I was trapped until Meghan told me I was trapped.
Harry really came out and confused the whole interview, but I do need to pause and just really, explain this Little Mermaid quote, though, because for those who have not seen this interview or don't choose to watch it and really just want this recap, which, let's face it, maybe is the best recap you could get.
We're definitely following some sort of order and well-researched, all the things.
We are not the same as Harry. We are not rambling. But the Little Mermaid, so she compares herself to the Little Mermaid by saying, and I was like the Little Mermaid, and I married a prince, and then I lost my voice, and then I found it again. And I was like, this is too much. Y'all are in a chicken coop with Oprah. What is happening in this moment? I don't know. Just that was like a little bit of a, like, y'all are doubling down on a narrative so much that it's gotten too far.
It was ridiculous. I think I immediately picked up my phone when that happened and texted you, like, what is this Little Mermaid business? Like, I cannot, like, out of all of the movies to choose. And then she lost her voice. How great, though, would it have been, though, if she kept going with it, where she was like, and then there were 2 eels, and I won't say who they were. I won't say their names because I don't want to damage their reputation. But there were 2 sneaky eels.
And then there was a really big octopus that was racist, and her name rhymed with Prince Marls.
And then I don't know why we're giving her an accent now.
You're right. I don't know, but it's kind of like a baby voice accent. It's not British.
Yeah, it was like this very soft, like, listen to my voice in a cloud.
Well, you know what sold the show for a moment there was those avocados.
That was, to me, like a very strong point where it was like, oh my gosh, like I hadn't really thought of that, where it was like they made Kate look really good, but then they made Meghan look not so good. But it made me really want some avocado in the moment.
Yeah, like you can't deter me from avocados. You can give avocados all the bad press you want, and I'm going to still eat an avocado. If that's what y'all were trying to do, y'all are wrong.
But what was it?
Well, okay, it was just really funny because they put 2 headlines up that were both about Kate and Meghan eating avocados. And Meghan was like, Kate's was like, Kate eats avocados every day for the health of her baby. And Meghan's was like, Meghan eats avocados associated with deforestation. And it was like so polarizing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, and the same thing about the baby bump. Like, those were 2 things that made me feel, it made me feel empathetic towards Meghan because, I mean, the baby bump thing too, where it was like Kate cradles her baby bump in a loving way. And it's like, Meghan has a huge ego and so much pride. Look at her showing off her baby bump. And it was like, these are insane. Like, British press, like, what are you?
The British press writing the vein, like, man, yeah, that's such a good point. The vain comment about her baby bump. It's like, look at her rocking that baby bump like she owns this world. Like, how do you even make that sound bad?
I know they did.
Like, yeah, do you think that intern in HR, like, at night just gets, like, a new task? Right, terrible headline for Kate, for Meghan tomorrow.
Well, what kind of HR is this? The HR is leaking this stuff? Ugh.
I feel like it was alluded to multiple times that they're like, the British press and the firm need each other. There was a lot of that going on.
There was. Oh, another moment. Now I'm jumping around, but it felt like whenever Harry jumped into the conversation. And then it felt like he was starting to say things and Meghan would cut him off. And so it's like the Oprah, I was going to say the Queen. Oprah.
The Oprah.
We might as well call her the Oprah.
Our queen.
So true. The Oprah asked Harry about the British press and the Crown's, like, relationship. And then Meghan jumps in and she's like, well, they host the gala at the palace. So what do you think that means? They need each other. But it was like, what was Harry going to say? Like, why didn't you let him speak?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that. There was, like, multiple times where she kind of quieted him, and I was a little bit like, what is going on here? Like, Oprah alluded to, or I guess Meghan alluded to, not getting any classes for, being taught how to be a royal. And Oprah specifically said, so no one gave you any any prep or any classes in this? And she said no, but Harry started to say something and she like shushed him, and I was like, what's this man trying to say?
Yeah, and it makes me wonder who's really Ariel in this Little Mermaid analogy, because it feels like it could be Harry.
Who has lost their voice here? To me, it seemed like Harry never had a voice. He seems like a big pushover baby. Well, I was trapped, and now I'm not trapped, but I think I'm not trapped. I can't be sure. Like, I just felt like everything was like a big baby who's a pushover.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had some issues with Harry. Like, one of them, I think we talked about, Morg, was where, so the Crown decides they're cutting off their security. Huge, hot topic. And Harry's like, we had nothing, just the money from my mother. And we live down the street from Oprah. And it was like, I'm sorry, what?
He really did. It was not good. And I wrote that down because he's like, the only way we survived was to live off the money from my mother. And I was like, survive doesn't get to be in your vocabulary when you live down the street from Oprah.
Yeah, that feels really wrong. I mean, and he did quickly try to be like, I mean, I have a great life. And it was like, a little too late, buddy. It's still in my mind how you were just like complaining about how you're like, my life, I only have the money from my mother. They cut me off.
But I feel like, Joe, this is a really good segue into one of the items you wrote for this episode about, you know, Harry grew up being a royal. And Oprah really doubled down. I feel like I even noted, like, Oprah really took it upon herself to make Harry double down on him being trapped, because it was a little bit like, come on, dude, like, you grew up being a royal. How did you not expect this when you got married? What are you talking about? But now that he's not a royal, you had a great question for our segment right now about, you know, like, how freaking annoying is he at home? Like, what is he up to? Like, he didn't just transition easily. Nobody gave him a lesson in being American.
Hey, that's such a good way to put it. Nobody gave him a lesson on how to deal with his own stuff, because I wonder, how do you go from being royal to just like day-to-day normal stuff? Like, how much was he responsible for doing for himself as a royal, and how much did people do for him? Like, I'm imagining him sitting at home in their house in Santa Barbara and being like, all right, Megan, like, I'm ready for lunch. Like, what have you prepared? By the way, I hear Archie crying in the other room. You better tend to him. And don't forget to press my suit. I have nowhere to be, but I need a suit. Like, I just feel like he's still a diva.
Yeah, a diva. He still, like, acts like a royal. He's like, I said a poached egg, not a boiled egg.
Start again.
And he's, like, yelling at no one. Like, at no one. Like, he poached the egg, but he's yelling about it.
Okay, so in your scenario, he is doing things for himself. He's just wishing and complaining like someone else did or should have.
Yeah, and I feel like he's a bit lost, like, career-wise without being, you know, a royal. Like, I feel like he's like, and today I will write a decree, and then he's like, oh, I guess not.
For whom?
Santa Barbara.
What if he tried to get involved in, like, the local politics or something like that, or he tried to do, like, some things locally? Like, how weird would that be in the community?
Oh my god, like, he's on the board of his, like, enclosed neighborhood.
He's in the HO, what is it, HO? Yeah, HO Association.
HOA. He's in his homeowners association running for president.
Yes, and he is like, I believe this neighborhood needs more trees, because trees will help us protect the environment. They allow us breath of oxygen.
No, and then he also wants to essentially establish a monarchy in his HOA. So he's like, I don't really think I'd have any real duties. I just would be a figurehead here. And they're just like, listen, Harry, we're just like, you know, trying to make sure people don't leave the cars in front of their house. And he's like, I shall wave through the neighborhood on a carriage. My wife and my son and my daughter, once she's born, will all ride with me. And they're like, no, we don't want that. And he's like, and I shall be the face of this neighborhood. And he like won't stop. And they're just like, you're not even a part of this HOA.
Yeah, and he's like, and you will have to start collecting more money for the homeowners association fee because I require
security.
There we go.
We did learn how much they like security.
Security was the word.
I feel like that was definitely the word. I do think, though, we need to address the fact that, of course, there was a huge racist somewhere within the royal family that nobody seemed to want to touch with a 10-foot pole. I just think we all knew who it was.
Oh, we all know who it was. I feel like as soon as Meghan brought it up, I mean, I immediately, like, my mind, like, jumped to one person.
Yeah, and I think everybody wanted them to say it, and they wouldn't, but they said the name enough that it was almost like, so you're saying it. You're saying it was freaking Prince Charles with a long freaking face, and you know it. Like, you know he was, like, the freaking racist of the family.
I mean, yes, like, the amount Harry mentioned how his relationship with his father is really not going well. I mean, I'm no detective, and I'd already speculated it was probably Prince Charles, but then, you know, Harry just mid-sentence wasn't talking about him at all, and he's like, and by the way, my father's not speaking to me, and then moves on. Felt very like, okay, it was 100% Prince Charles who was casually like, so what about this baby's skin color?
Yeah, like, where do we think he brought this conversation up? Like, I picture some fancy-ass, like, gentleman's club that they, like, the royals had for the day. So him and Harry are, you know, in this place drinking whiskey. And he's like, you know how your father gets a little rowdy when he drinks. And then he just blurts out some bullshit about the baby and saying racist shit. And I think that's, like, when Harry's like, I gotta tell my wife. I gotta get out of here. Dad's crazy.
Dad's crazy.
I don't know. That's just the way I pictured it, you know?
See, I guess that I pictured it in less of, because the way these people all seem is very, like, let's not just address it face on, like, let's, like, do it in a really weird roundabout way. So I picture it's like Harry wakes up in the morning, Prince Charles is downstairs reading the morning newspaper, and he, like, never looks up from his newspaper, and he makes some weird analogy where he's like, I'm reading a story in the newspaper, and it's interesting because it's about a baby and it made me wonder. And then he says his racist business, and then it's just like, Harry's like, I'm sorry, did I hear this right? Like, what?
Oh my gosh, yours sounds way more realistic. Like,
I mean, I watched all The Crown, and it feels like
okay.
It happens like that in the show.
Okay, yeah. The Gentleman's Club, that's more American. You're right.
But I feel like the Gentleman's Club was more his dad's speed, you know. The Crown Season 1, The Crown Season 2. Who was frequenting the Gentleman's Club? The Duke of Edinburgh.
Prince Philip. Yep. Oh my god, he is 99 years old. Whew.
That is old. How old is the Queen? Is she the same age or is she younger? I'm going to guess 96.
She is 94.
Oh, quite an age difference there.
Yeah. Man, these people live, like, you know, I always thought picturing the royals, the way they were described to me in, you know, 7th grade history, was like they were all interbred and dying at age 13. But these girls live on.
Oh,
and on
you
and on.
know it. You know they get that good health care that unfortunately Meghan and Harry probably no longer have access to.
Well, it sounded like, based on this agreement that's coming out in 2021, that they are, like, fully removed from any benefits of the royal family. I know, like, we're poking a lot of fun at them, but I don't dismiss the fact that Meghan very openly spoke about mental illness and how critical a time it was for her to get away from this interaction with this family. I just think with them on the interview, I feel like it had a lot of moments where, you know, as I was kind of watching tweets as it was going, the interview Diana did, which of course was kind of also a blow to the royal family at the time, Princess Diana, when she did this back, I think it was in the early 90s. And it did not portray her well at the time either. And so I kind of wonder if it's the same thing. You know, it doesn't come off well, but maybe like time will tell once again that the royal family is like the mafia, which is all I can think of when I kept hearing the word the firm. And they are like this scary institution that's like literally like, you will not disappoint us or you will be sorry. Like, I definitely have those vibes and believe it.
Oh, for sure. And again, I know that to a degree the Crown is fictionalized, but just listening to everything they were saying, it does feel like a lot of the stuff from the Crown, it's kind of follows like that same pattern too, where it's like they're covering things and it is like very restricting. And I mean, so I definitely see this being totally true. Like all of that, like it sounds like it would be horrible to be a part of the royal family.
And so that is why I really couldn't buy the upfront position Meghan took about not knowing anything about being a royal. Even I, as an idiot sitting here in Austin, Texas, know that it would be horrible.
Oh, but Morg, so, right? Because I wrote down a note and I wrote LOL next to it because I just wrote down Meghan's lack of research. LOL. It was just like she comes out and she's like, I didn't know anything about the royal family. Like everything I knew, I heard from Harry. And I just was laughing because I was like, who does this sound like?
Could it be us in our very quick research of the episodes we do?
Yeah, so I wanted to judge her for the hottest of seconds, and then I was like, oh, I too am not really into research, so...
I know, but to my point, like, it's that easy to generally know that this is gonna really suck.
Yeah, that's true. And so this is not exactly related to what you just said, but it still feels relevant because I just mentioned the Crown, and like you said, it doesn't take much to know anything about the royal family. But how it made me laugh so hard whenever Oprah was like, I watched The Crown. Did you watch The Crown? And then they like kind of looked at each other and they're like, we've seen part of it. And I was like, oh, y'all are suckers. You know you've watched the whole thing. Don't lie. You binged it.
Yeah, you have been watching it. Yeah. No, they were so sketchy about that. And the weirdest part is very recently, Harry did an interview with James Corden where he admitted he watched it. So I was like, why are you being weird with Oprah? You don't want to address some things?
Yeah. What are y'all holding back here?
I don't know. Something just came out on The Crown that they got a cease and desist from HR about.
Our poor HR intern is working hard, man.
That is the worst job in the whole Monarch. Like, don't take it.
I don't know what strings you had to pull to get into the HR department for the firm, but... unpull those strings, man. You made a mistake. You do a lot of dirty work.
I think one thing I wanted to ask you, though, is what do you think of the whole interview? I know Oprah asked, like, Harry and Meghan what their regrets are, but I just mean, like, what do you think, like, Harry or Meghan left that interview with and being like, I really should not have said that. Like, oh, this is what I'm in trouble for. Like, that was not supposed to come out.
I would say maybe to Harry, maybe, like, not being so openly, I mean, but again, it was like nice, the transparency, I guess, but like maybe not making it feel so obvious that your dad was the racist, because it definitely felt like the comments you made were like, yeah, me and my dad, like my dad, he's not taking my phone calls. Like he just drops that mid-sentence and leaves it there without anything around it. And then later comes back to the fact where he's like, yeah, like, our relationship's rocky, and it's like, yeah, my relationship would be rocky too if my dad was racist. It just felt like maybe he would regret
saying that.
Yeah, or like not covering it a little bit better.
Yeah, especially seeing how they were like trying to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
Either you are or you aren't. That was like, yeah, definitely like if you were trying to cover it, you just did a really bad job. Or maybe that's the whole point, Joe. Like, he can always rely on, like, I never meant for everyone to figure that out.
That is a good point. That's actually a very good point. So maybe he doesn't regret that at all. Then I would like to retract that, because if that's the case, then you are a genius, Harry. And I would like to think maybe Meghan regrets going with the horrible mermaid analogy.
Okay, I thought that's where you were going to go, because that one was a hard one for me to be okay with.
Is that what you too regret? Or maybe the whole chicken metaphor? What do you think, Morg?
Okay, so I wrote down one, though, that I think she maybe regretted, which was the way she compared LA celebs to the royals, and I thought it was just kind of like, don't do that. So, do you remember this part where she was like,
No.
really, Oprah was really skeptical of her, explanation of not knowing what royals were and what it entailed. And so, Oprah kind of said the point I was making earlier, which was like, listen, I can Google it. Like people know Diana hated it. Like, this isn't like new news that it's really hard to be a royal. And so she like really doubled down on that. But her answer again was like, really, like, what are you talking about, Meghan? And it was, I grew up in LA and I just like saw celebs all the time. So I just thought it was like the UK's celebs.
I don't even remember that. But yeah, like, I definitely feel like she did herself no favor there.
Doubling down there.
Yeah, like,
I feel like she should have just had a different position of, I don't know. I guess I just was like, don't say you had no idea. That to me is just not believable.
And Morg, do you not remember, I guess maybe it was like 2 years ago, she did the interview with the guy where she told him basically how unhappy she was, and she said that she had friends that were British friends who basically were like, hey, don't marry him, being a royal's hard. Like, I mean, I feel like, again, I don't buy the fact that she had no idea.
Yeah, I just think she was really doubling down, because Oprah was super skeptical, and then she's like, well, I lived in LA. I grew up in LA. I saw celebs all the time. So Oprah was like, and so you're saying, and then she's like, yeah, like I thought the royals were like, celebrity. It was almost like she regretted it in the moment. So that's what I decided was her biggest regret.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember that, but yeah, no, that sounds silly.
And I also noted just one last thing about her giving up her ID and her keys and her, passport. And I was like, whoa, like that was a lot, because she was referencing it, of course, when like Oprah was like, could you check yourself into a hospital, when Meghan was talking about her, suicidal thoughts. And she was just kind of like, no, like I don't even have my ID or my keys or anything. And I was like, okay, that is really freaking scary.
I agree. I thought that too, because then my mind's thinking, okay, well then how do you leave? Like how do you take care of yourself when it's like you don't have anything? And she's like, she made a comment about how she's like, I can't just call an Uber. It's like, that's a good point too. Like, I feel like you'd have to make an ally on the inside and be like, I need you to take me to this place, like, or I need help. Like, I don't, what do you do? That's terrifying.
Like, who was driving Charles around to meet Camilla while he was married to Diana? Like, somebody breaks rules in there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And, well, I mean, not nearly as important of the stature, but like Prince Andrew, man, that dude was like apparently doing whatever.
Yeah, that guy was flying off to private islands being a major freaking creep.
Why didn't he have to turn in his passport?
Yeah, I feel like protecting poor Meghan Markle was not y'all's least of y'all's worries. And Tyler Perry got thrown in there for a minute, got a big shout out.
Morg, that to me might have been one of the biggest surprises. Was like, okay, hold up, like Tyler Perry is somehow involved in this crazy story, but like Tyler Perry was,
of course he is,
but he was definitely the real hero in my opinion, because these poor people are in Canada and they're scared, Morg, and I don't blame them. I mean, everyone knows they're in Canada. They have no security. And what does Tyler Perry do? He's like, hey, come stay at my house. You can use my security. And they stayed there for like 3 months. But it was like, I'm sorry, what? Did they have like any kind of friendship with Tyler Perry? Like, that's what I want to know is
They shared a blanket. They shared a blanket.
one time they shared a blanket and he was just like Megan's grandma. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, I was like, whoa, Tyler Perry's getting name dropped here. I am just like, that is the real MVP of this episode, you know?
It really is. And he kept it on the DL. I liked that. You're not out there flaunting it, Tyler Perry. Like, that was a really good guy move.
Yeah, and you know what? We might not have royals, but we have Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry.
He will keep you safe. Well, Joe, I want to end this episode on what I think can only be the spiciest of the gossip that we heard. And, of course, saved it for the end because what was up with those Flower Girls dresses in the crying? The crying reverse, like, you know, like, no Megan cried, no Kate cried. Like, whoa, a lot of drama there.
Morg, and this was a moment I was thankful Oprah clarified because Megan was speaking in Uno cards when she was like the reverse, and when the reverse happened, and it was like, when are you going to specifically tell us what the reverse was?
Yes, for context for our listeners, the situation was headlines reported that right before the wedding of Harry and Meghan, that Meghan made Kate cry regarding Flower Girl dresses for Kate's daughter.
Super important.
So important. Then in this interview, Meghan says the reverse happened, which Oprah had to clarify because I love that reference to Uno cards. It was like, what it would be the reverse of the situation. And apparently it was that Kate made Meghan cry, which this seems like a very petty thing to like be like,
yes,
the reverse happened of this really petty thing. So what I want to know with this last segment is, Joe, can you do your best impression of what Kate said to Meghan to make her cry in your worst British accent?
Oh boy. Well, I feel like any British accent is my worst British accent. But okay, so let me just make sure I understand this. So you want me to be Kate telling Meghan that I hate the Flower Girl dresses?
Or whatever you think it was that made her cry. So I'm going to be Meghan. Like, hey, Kate, thanks for being at my wedding.
Meghan, we must talk. What on God's green earth is this horrid mess that you expect my daughter to be wearing right here? What is this? This looks like a mushroom that has been dipped in salsa. I hate this, and I will be taking my daughter out of your wedding if you have her in this. I'll do it, Meghan. I will ruin your life. I'll make you miserable. And that's it, Morgan. I don't know if it was even a British accent. Trying to make my bad British accent. I know, but I feel like when you intentionally make it bad, it was like a whole nother thing.
Well, I enjoyed it.
I don't know what the bridesmaids, whatever the Flower Girl dresses looked like even. I don't remember watching this wedding, so.
No, I don't either. But apparently, it's like, so in my mind, I think it was like a metaphor for something.
Oh,
I'm like,
I like
but
this.
what is the Flower Girl dresses?
All right, Mark. So lay it on me. What was it?
Okay, so you're Meghan. I'm Kate. Oi, what you think you're gonna do with my daughter when she gonna walk down the aisle and she gonna be there right before you're there and you're gonna try and make her look like scum? I know it. I know you've been trying to make me look like scum since the day that I saw your face in this royal family. I thought you just got a date, Harry, I did. And now you're just coming around and you're staying and you won't leave, eh? And you know what? I think you should pack yourself up in that case on that show you were on and scram.
Oh, I like that she told her to scram. And she pulled out her old job. Also, this accent, where is Adele from? Because I feel like this is a legit accent here.
I just went with a Cockney, like an 1810 Cockney British accent. That's what I was going for.
Oi! All right. The oi felt almost like Australian, but I liked it. Oi, what is that?
I thought for once Kate should speak the commoners' language.
I know, what, right? It's probably like behind the facade. Like, you know, when she's not being interviewed, like, she's actually over there, like, in it, though. In it. Get a load of this.
I took the apples and pears before you got here, eh? It just, like, all, like, it wears on her, right? And as soon as the cameras are off, it's like, well, bloody hell! Aren't we?
Completely different person. Okay, all right.
Who's to say? It's not what's happening.
Behind closed doors, who knows what's happening?
Exactly. And apparently Kate is a disgusting human being.
Really, she's like, anybody got any avocado? I only eat the ones that cause deforestation, though.
I want a whole forest destroyed by morning.
I love myself. I need a baby bump to cradle.
Oh, William, we gonna get pregnant again.
All right then, Morg. It's been quite a wild ride, and I'm going to stop there because I can't keep this up. But, Morg, lots of juice. I feel like we've uncovered so many things. We've made so many speculations. And the firm. All I have to say is that. The firm. HR.
Period. Very big words from the interview.
That is it. So be sure to follow us at 2Bs from Lil D. We'll be back next week, hopefully with an HR department. Have a good week.
If you are thinking about suicide or are worried about a friend or loved one or would like some emotional support, the Suicide Prevention Line network is available 24/7 across the United States. The phone number is 1-800-273-8255.